The massive ship dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of Sol system. It was beautiful in the way that dangerous things often are. The crystalline hull caught starlight and threw it back in rainbow patterns. This was just one ship. Behind it, space itself seemed to tear open as thousands more followed. Emperor Vex Theta sat on his command throne, all four of his arms resting on the controls. His purple skin shimmered with satisfaction. The Zephyrin Galactic Empire had come to collect their newest prize. This small system with its yellow sun and handful of planets would become theirs today. "My lord," his first commander said, bowing so low that his head tentacles touched the floor. "We have arrived at the human system. Should we begin the standard conquest protocol?" The Emperor's three eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of his amusement. "Yes, let these humans see what real power looks like. How many ships did we bring?" 5 million vessels, my lord. The entire Third Conquest fleet. It was overkill and everyone knew it. The humans had only achieved faster than light travel 100 years ago. They had a few colonies on nearby planets. Their entire military fleet was less than 1,000 ships. The Emperor had brought 5 million ships to conquer a species that still used chemical rockets for most of their transportation. "Open a channel to their main planet," the Emperor commanded. "Let me speak to their leaders." The communication systems of the Zephyrin fleet were beyond anything humans had developed. They could force any receiver to accept their signal, could project the Emperor's image onto every screen, into every mind if needed. The humans would have no choice but to listen. The blue and green planet called Earth appeared on the main screen. It was pretty enough, the Emperor supposed. It would make a good farming world once the humans were properly enslaved. "Humans of Earth," the Emperor began, his voice booming through every speaker on the planet. "I am Emperor Vex Theta of the Zephyrin Galactic Empire. We have ruled 10,000 star systems for 50,000 years. Your planet has been chosen to join our empire. You may surrender now and become our servants, or we will destroy you. You have 1 hour to decide." The Emperor cut the transmission and leaned back in his throne. This was always his favorite part. The fear, the panic. Some species tried to run. Others begged. A few tried to fight. It never mattered. The outcome was always the same. "My lord," the communications officer said, her voice confused. "We are receiving a response from Earth." "Already?" The Emperor was surprised. Usually it took species longer to even understand what was happening to them. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life. A human appeared. She was sitting behind a simple desk, wearing what looked like a business suit. She had dark skin and gray hair. She was smiling. "Hello, Emperor Vex Theta," the human said. Her voice was calm, almost cheerful. "I'm Secretary General Amara Okonkwo of the United Nations. We received your message." The Emperor waited for more. For the begging. For the surrender. The human just kept smiling, and the Emperor demanded. "Oh, sorry," the Secretary General said. She put her hand over her mouth for a moment. Was she trying not to laugh? "We need a moment to compose ourselves. We'll get back to you." The screen went black. The bridge of the Emperor's ship fell silent. In 50,000 years of conquest, no one had ever hung up on the Zephyrin Empire. "Did they just?" the first commander started to ask. "Get them back." The Emperor roared. "I'm trying, my lord, but they're not accepting our signal." The Emperor's three eyes narrowed. How dare they? How dare these primitive apes ignore him? "Sir," another officer called out. "We're detecting activity throughout the human system." "Military activity? Are they preparing their defenses?" The officer studied his screens, confusion spreading across his features. "No, my lord. They appear to be gathering in public spaces, parks, stadiums, open areas in their cities. For evacuation? No, my lord. They're bringing food and drinks and something called lawn chairs." The Emperor stood up, all four arms spreading in confusion. "What are they doing?" On the moon colony of Luna City, 12-year-old Marcus Chen was helping his father set up telescopes on their apartment balcony. The dome overhead showed the clear black of space, and in the distance the Zephyrin fleet glittered like deadly stars. "Dad, are those really alien spaceships?" Marcus asked. His father, Dr. James Chen, adjusted the telescope's focus. "They sure are, son. 5 million of them, according to the news." "Shouldn't we be scared?" Dr. Chen ruffled his son's hair. "Remember what I taught you about Earth history? About how humans spent thousands of years fighting each other? Yeah? Well, we got very, very good at it. These aliens think we're primitive because we're new to space travel." They don't realize that we're probably the only species in the galaxy that invented nuclear weapons before we invented faster-than-light travel. Across Earth and its colonies, similar scenes played out. On Mars, the colonial government set up huge screens in the domed cities. On the asteroid mining stations, workers took their lunch breaks early to get good viewing spots. On Earth itself, billions of people gathered to watch what was about to happen. The media was having a field day. "Ladies and gentlemen," news anchor Rebecca Torres said to her global audience, "we're about 30 minutes away from the deadline given by the Zephyrin Empire. With me now is retired Admiral Janet Singh. Admiral, can you tell us what we can expect?" Admiral Singh, an elderly woman with sharp eyes, leaned forward. "Well, Rebecca, the Zephyrins have made a classic mistake. They've assumed that technological age equals military capability. They see that we've only been in space for a century and assume we're weak. But surely 5 million ships is cause for concern." The Admiral actually laughed. 5 million ships in a traditional battle formation that takes them 6 hours to arrange. They might as well paint targets on themselves. You see, the Zephyrins have been the dominant power for so long they've forgotten how to really fight. Their battles are more like ceremonies. Very pretty, very organized, and completely unsuited for dealing with humans. Back on the Emperor's ship, the countdown was approaching 0. The Emperor had spent the hour arranging his fleet into the glorious mandala of conquest, a battle formation that had been used for 20,000 years. It was considered the most beautiful and intimidating sight in the galaxy. The ships formed perfect geometric patterns, with the command vessels in the center and waves of destroyers creating spiral arms that stretched for millions of kilometers. "It's magnificent." "My lord," the first commander said, admiring the formation. "Yes," the Emperor agreed. "Let the humans see the true power of the Empire. Are their leaders ready to surrender?" "They've sent another message, my lord." The screen came to life again. Secretary General Okonkwo was back, and this time she wasn't alone. The entire UN Security Council was with her. They all looked like they were trying very hard not to smile. "Emperor Vex Theta," she began, "after careful consideration of your offer, we have decided to decline." "Decline?" The Emperor's voice shook the bridge. "You cannot decline. You either surrender or you die." "Yes, about that," the Secretary General said. She picked up a tablet and appeared to read from it. "According to United Nations Resolution 2847, adopted about 5 minutes ago, Earth officially finds your threat to be, and I quote, absolutely adorable." Someone in the background of the human transmission snorted with laughter. The Emperor's purple skin turned a deep shade of violet, a sign of extreme anger. "You dare mock the Zephyrin Empire?" "Oh, we're not mocking you," the Secretary General said quickly. "We're just amused. You see, Emperor, you've made some assumptions about us that aren't quite accurate." "What assumptions?" "Well, for starters, you assume that because we're new to space travel, we're new to war. You assume that your technology is superior in ways that matter. And, most importantly, you assume that we haven't been preparing for this exact moment since the day we learned we weren't alone in the universe." The Secretary General leaned forward, and for the first time her expression was serious. "Emperor Vexa Theta, I'm going to give you one chance. Take your fleet and leave. Don't come back. Tell the rest of the galaxy that Earth is off limits. Do this and we can all go about our day. Or we're going to teach you why humans have a saying, don't start a fight you can't finish." The transmission ended. The Emperor stood in stunned silence for a moment. Then he laughed. "It was a sound like breaking glass. They threaten us. They dare to threaten the Empire. Prepare all weapons. We will turn their planet to dust." As the weapon systems of 5 million ships powered up, creating a light show that could be seen from Earth with the naked eye, humans across the solar system settled into their chairs with snacks and drinks. The show was about to begin. The war room of the Zephyrin flagship was a marvel of alien technology. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing every detail of the human solar system. The Emperor's top military commanders stood around the main display, their tentacles and appendages pointing at various tactical positions. "My lord," said War Master Krexjan, a veteran of 1,000 conquests, "the humans have begun moving their ships. They have exactly 512 vessels forming a defensive line around Earth." The Emperor's 3 eyes focused on the display. The human ships were tiny compared to his crystalline dreadnoughts. They looked like insects facing dragons. 500 ships against 5 million, the Emperor mused. This will be over in minutes. Should we offer them one more chance to surrender, my lord? Asked another commander. It is tradition. No, they mocked us. They laughed at the Zephyrin Empire. They will learn what that costs. The War Master pulled up detailed scans of the human vessels. Their ships are primitive, my lord. Steel and titanium construction, nuclear reactors for power, chemical thrusters for sublight movement. Their weapons appear to be projectile-based. And nuclear missiles. The entire war room burst into laughter. The sound was like wind chimes in a hurricane. Nuclear weapons, one commander said between laughs. What is this, the Stone Age? Our shields can withstand the heart of a star, another added. Their nuclear weapons are like throwing pebbles at a mountain. The Emperor raised one of his forearms for silence. Still, we follow proper protocol. Begin forming the glorious mandala of conquest. I want every ship in perfect position. When we destroy these humans, the entire galaxy will watch and know that the Empire's power is absolute. The process of forming the glorious mandala was an ancient ritual. Each ship had to be precisely positioned according to mathematical formulas that had been perfected over millennia. The formation was not just for battle, it was art. It was meant to demonstrate the Empire's superiority in every way. Culture, mathematics, coordination, and power. It would take 6 hours to complete. On Earth, Admiral Chen stood in the Terran Defense Command watching the alien fleet slowly arrange itself. The room was filled with military personnel from every nation on Earth. For the first time in human history, there were no separate armies or navies. There was just humanity. They're actually doing it, said General Patterson, the American representative. They're forming a perfect geometric pattern. It's going to take them hours. It's beautiful, admitted Colonel Nakamura from Japan. Also incredibly stupid. Admiral Chen nodded. They're used to fighting other empires like themselves. Civilizations that have been in space for thousands of years. They fight with rules and traditions. They've forgotten what real war looks like. Ma'am, a technician called out, the formation will put their ships in predictable positions for the next 6 hours. We can calculate exactly where each ship will be. Of course we can, Chen said with a grim smile. They're literally showing us their entire battle plan. Lieutenant, how are the preparations going? All nuclear arsenals have been retrofitted with the phase technology, Admiral. The Americans contributed 15,000 warheads. The Russians 12,000. China 10,000. Between all nations, we have approximately 70,000 nuclear weapons ready for deployment. General Patterson whistled. You know, it's funny. We spent the last century trying not to blow ourselves up with these things. Now they might save us. That's not what's going to save us, Admiral Chen corrected. What's going to save us is that we're the only species insane enough to build that many world-ending weapons in the first place. She turned to another station. What about Project Swarm? The nanobots are ready, Admiral. 40 billion units loaded into standard missiles. The alien shields are designed for energy weapons and kinetic impacts. They've never faced self-replicating machines that can eat through hull metal at the molecular level. And the consciousness field defense? Online and ready. Turns out surviving 21st century social media and advertising gave us a natural immunity to mental manipulation. The psychic shields are just a backup. The Admiral looked around the room at the faces of Earth's defenders. They weren't scared. If anything, they looked excited. You know what the problem with the Empire is, Chen said. They've been winning for so long they've forgotten that war isn't supposed to be pretty. It's supposed to be hell, and nobody knows hell better than humans. Meanwhile, on the Zephyrin flagship, the Emperor was reviewing intelligence reports about humanity. The more he read, the more confused he became. This makes no sense, he said to his advisors. They fought 2 wars that involved their entire planet? Yes, my lord. They called them world wars. And in the second one, they used nuclear weapons on their own kind? 2 cities were destroyed, my lord. Barbaric, the Emperor muttered. Then he continued reading. What is this Cold War? A period where 2 of their major powers aimed thousands of nuclear weapons at each other for 40 years, my lord. And nothing, my lord. They just aimed them at each other. For 40 years. Neither side fired, but neither side backed down. The Emperor's 3 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of confusion. They held their entire species hostage? It appears so, my lord. They called it mutually assured destruction. Madness, the Emperor declared. No wonder they're too stupid to surrender. They're insane. What the Emperor didn't understand was that humanity's insanity was its strength. They were a species that had looked at the power to destroy worlds and decided to build more of it. They were a species that had invented rules for war because without rules, they would destroy everything, including themselves. They were a species that had practiced killing each other for 10,000 years and had gotten very, very good at it. 3 hours into the formation of the glorious mandala, something strange happened. The human ships, all 500 of them, suddenly scattered. They didn't retreat. They just moved in seemingly random directions. "What are they doing?" the Emperor demanded. "Unknown, my lord. Their movements make no tactical sense. They're not forming any known battle formation. Perhaps they're panicking?" Before anyone could answer, space around the Zephyrin fleet lit up with small explosions. Thousands of them. Tiny human missiles so small they had been dismissed as debris, detonated all around the alien ships. "Damage report." "No damage, my lord. Our shields held perfectly. The explosions were too small to matter." The Emperor laughed. "Is this their great attack? Fireworks?" But then the sensor operator's expression changed. His tentacles began writhing, a sign of extreme distress. "My lord, those weren't explosives. They were delivery systems." "Delivery systems for what?" "Unknown, my lord, but our shields are reporting unusual activity. Something is on the surface of the shields. Something very, very small." On Earth, Admiral Chen watched the tactical display with satisfaction. "The nanobots have made contact." "How long until they breach?" "At their current rate of reproduction and consumption, approximately 2 hours, Admiral." "Perfect. That gives the Zephyrins 1 more hour to finish their pretty formation. Then we'll show them what humans do to invaders." She turned to the communications officer. "Open a channel to all human forces. Tell them to continue random movement patterns. Let the aliens think we're panicking." Back on the Zephyrin flagship, the Emperor was growing annoyed. The humans weren't playing by the rules. They weren't forming battle lines. They weren't even trying to match the glory of his formation. "My lord," the War Master said carefully, "perhaps we should begin our attack before the formation is complete." "No!" the Emperor snapped. "We do this properly. We show these primitives the full might and majesty of the Empire. Every ship in position. Every weapon charged to full power. When we fire, I want the light to be visible from every world in this pathetic system." The War Master bowed. "As you command, my lord." Outside, unknown to the Zephyrins, 40 billion nanobots continued their work. They were simple machines designed for one purpose: eat and replicate. They consumed the energy of the shields themselves, using it to make more of themselves. Every second, their numbers doubled. The Zephyrins had shields that could withstand supernovas. They had never considered an attack at the molecular level. It was like building a fortress with massive walls but forgetting about termites. On Mars, viewing parties were in full swing. Someone had started selling t-shirts that said, "I watched Earth fight an alien empire and all I got was this awesome show." They were selling out fast. "Mom, why aren't we scared?" asked a young girl in New Shanghai, Mars's largest city. Her mother smiled. "Because, sweetie, humans are very good at war. Too good, actually. We had to stop fighting each other because we got so good at it we might have destroyed ourselves. So now we fight aliens instead, only the ones dumb enough to attack us." 5 hours and 45 minutes after starting, the glorious mandala was nearly complete. 5 million ships arranged in perfect mathematical precision. It was, even humans had to admit, beautiful. It looked like a cosmic flower made of crystal and light. It was also the biggest tactical mistake in military history. Every ship was exactly where human computers had calculated they would be. Every movement predictable, every position known. Admiral Chen looked at the countdown clock. The planet cracker beam was the pride of the Zephyrin Empire. It was a weapon that could split a world in half, leaving nothing but cosmic debris. The beam required 1,000 ships working in perfect harmony, their energy cores synchronized to create a lance of pure destruction. Emperor Vexitheta stood from his throne as the weapon charged. The energy readings climbed higher and higher. Around him, his officers worked their controls with practiced precision. This was the moment of triumph. This was when the humans would learn their place. Energy at 50%. My lord. 70%. 90%. Planet cracker beam ready. My lord. The Emperor raised all 4 of his arms dramatically. Fire! A column of blinding white energy erupted from the formation center. It was beautiful and terrible. A river of destruction flowing through space directly at Earth. The beam moved at the speed of light itself. There was no dodging it. There was no stopping it. Or so the Emperor thought. The beam traveled through space for exactly 3 seconds before it hit something invisible. The energy spread out like water hitting glass, creating a spectacular light show but going no further. What happened? The Emperor demanded. Why didn't it reach the planet? The sensor officer was frantically working his controls. There's something there, my lord. Something we can't see. The beam is hitting a barrier of some kind. Impossible. Our sensors can detect everything. Not this, my lord. Whatever it is, it's not matter as we understand it. It's like space itself has been changed. On Earth, Admiral Chen watched the alien weapons splash harmlessly against humanity's greatest secret. Dark matter shields holding steady, a technician reported. The aliens' weapon is operating on standard physics. They never even considered we might have learned to manipulate dark matter. To be fair, General Patterson said, neither did we until about 20 years ago. Chen nodded. It had been humanity's biggest breakthrough. While the rest of the galaxy was focused on bigger ships and stronger weapons, humans had been asking different questions. What was dark matter? Could it be controlled? Could it be weaponized? The answer to all 3 questions was yes. Ma'am, the nanobots have breached the alien shields. They're starting to eat into the hull material now. Excellent. Begin Phase 3. Back on the Zephyrin flagship, panic was beginning to spread. The planet cracker had failed. That had never happened before. In 50,000 years, it had never failed. Fire again. The Emperor commanded. They fired. The beam was stopped again. All ships concentrate fire on Earth. Everything we have. 5 million ships opened fire at once. Energy beams, plasma cannons, antimatter missiles, gravity bombs. The space around Earth lit up like a new sun being born. The light was so bright it could be seen from the edge of the solar system. None of it reached Earth. The dark matter shield absorbed everything. Not reflected, not deflected, absorbed. The energy simply ceased to exist in normal space. My lord, the War Master said, his voice shaking, the humans aren't even firing back. They're just ignoring us. That wasn't quite true. The humans weren't ignoring the Zephyrins. They were studying them. Fascinating, said Dr. Sarah Webb at the Earth Defense Science Division. The alien weapons are all based on energy state transitions. Very advanced, but also very limited. How so? Admiral Chen asked over the comm. They've perfected energy weapons to an art form, but they've forgotten about other possibilities. Chemical reactions, biological warfare, nanotechnology, dimensional manipulation. They've put all their eggs in one basket. And we're about to show them why that's a mistake. Chen turned to her weapons officer. Deploy the gray goo. From 500 human ships, a cloud of microscopic machines spread into space. The nanobots that had been eating through the alien shields were just the first wave. These new ones were different. They didn't need to touch anything. They swam through the vacuum of space itself, using quantum entanglement to communicate and coordinate. The cloud was invisible to the naked eye, but on sensors it looked like a gray tide washing over the Zephyrin fleet. My lord, the sensor officer screamed. Something is happening to our ships. The Emperor looked at the displays in horror. His beautiful crystalline vessels were beginning to dissolve. The nanobots were eating them from the outside in, converting the hull material into more nanobots. One ship became 2 billion nanobots. 2 billion became 4 billion. 4 billion became 8. Use the sterilization field, the Emperor commanded. Burn them off. The fleet activated their sterilization fields, designed to clear biological contaminants. The fields did nothing. The nanobots weren't biological. They were machines and they were hungry. On Mars, the viewing parties had gone quiet. Even though the humans were winning, watching 5 million ships slowly dissolve was sobering. Is that really necessary? Someone asked. Yes, answered a military analyst on the news. We're not just fighting this empire. We're sending a message to the entire galaxy. Attack Earth and we won't just defeat you. We'll erase you. But the humans weren't done. Admiral Chen had one more surprise for the Zephyrins. Launch the physics bombs, she ordered. These weren't weapons in any traditional sense. They were devices that temporarily changed the laws of physics in a small area. One bomb might increase gravity by a factor of 1,000. Another might reverse the flow of entropy. A third might change the speed of light. Humans had learned that the universe wasn't as fixed as everyone thought. Reality was more like software, and humans had learned to hack it. The bombs detonated throughout the Zephyrin fleet. Ships suddenly found themselves in pockets of space where electrons couldn't orbit atoms, causing all matter to dissolve. Other ships experienced time moving backwards. their crews aging in reverse until they ceased to exist. Some ships simply vanished as the space they occupied decided to be somewhere else. The Emperor watched his mighty fleet disappear piece by piece. Some ships were eaten by nanobots. Others were torn apart by impossible physics. The few that tried to retreat found that space itself had become sticky like flying through honey. "This is impossible," he whispered. "We are the Zephyrin Empire. We have ruled for 50 millennia. My lord," the communications officer said. "The humans are sending a message." Admiral Chen appeared on the screen. She looked calm, almost bored. "Emperor Vexus Theta," she said. "Your fleet is being destroyed. In approximately 10 minutes, you'll be the only ship left. I'm calling to offer you terms." "Terms?" The Emperor's voice was hollow. "We are losing? You've already lost. You lost the moment you arrived. We could have destroyed your entire fleet in the first second, but we wanted to make a point." "What point?" "That humans don't just win wars. We perfect them. Every terrible thing you can imagine doing to an enemy, we've already done to each other. Every weapon you can conceive of, we've already built. Every strategy you can think of, we've already countered." She leaned forward. "We are a species that looked at the power to destroy worlds and said, we need more. We are a species that invented war crimes just so we could ban them, because without rules we would destroy everything, including ourselves." The Emperor's bridge was falling apart around him. The nanobots had reached his ship. His officers were fleeing, but there was nowhere to go. "What do you want?" he asked. "Leave, never come back. Tell every empire, every species, every civilization you meet that Earth is off limits. Not because we're peaceful. Because we're not. And if others come," Admiral Chen smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "Then we'll stop playing nice. This was us being gentle, Emperor. We used non-lethal weapons. We gave you time to surrender. We didn't deploy the really scary stuff. This was gentle. We have weapons that can delete concepts from reality. We have viruses that can rewrite the laws of physics. We have bombs that can make it so you never existed in the first place. We learned to weaponize mathematics itself." She paused to let that sink in. "But our greatest weapon isn't our technology. It's that we find war boring unless we're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. You brought 5 million ships to fight 500. That wasn't a threat to us. That was entertainment." The Emperor's throne dissolved beneath him. He fell to the floor, which was also dissolving. Around him, his empire's greatest fleet was being erased from existence. "I accept your terms," he gasped. "Good choice." The nanobots stopped. The physics bombs deactivated. The dark matter shield around Earth powered down. In seconds, the attack was over. The Emperor looked around. Of his 5 million ships, less than 1,000 remained, and those were crippled. His own flagship was half-eaten, open to space in dozens of places. Only the emergency force fields kept the atmosphere in. "You could have destroyed us all," he said. "Yes," Chen agreed. "But dead enemies can't spread the word. We want you to go home, Emperor. We want you to tell everyone what happened here. We want the galaxy to know that humans are not to be touched." "They won't believe me." "Then we'll have to convince them too. We have plenty of weapons left to test." The transmission ended. The Emperor sat in the ruins of his bridge, surrounded by the wreckage of his fleet. In 6 hours, the Zephyrin Empire had gone from the dominant force in the galaxy to a cautionary tale. On Earth, the victory celebrations were starting. But in the military command centers, they were already planning for the next attack, because humans knew the truth about themselves. The Emperor's remaining ships floated in space like broken toys, half-dissolved, systems failing, crews in panic. The mighty Zephyrin Empire that had conquered 10,000 systems had been reduced to scrap metal in less than 6 hours. But Emperor Vexus Theta wasn't done. He still had one weapon left, the most powerful weapon in the Empire's arsenal, something so terrible that it had only been used 3 times in 50,000 years. "Activate the consciousness suppression field," he commanded. His officers looked at him in shock. "My lord, the field will affect our own people too." "Do it. If we cannot have this system, then we'll leave the humans as mindless husks." The consciousness suppression field was the Empire's secret to controlling conquered populations. It was a psychic weapon that broke the will to fight, to resist, even to think. Entire species had been reduced to willing slaves with a single pulse of the field. It attacked the very essence of what made a being conscious and self-aware. Deep in the Emperor's damaged flagship, ancient machines came to life. They were older than the Empire itself, recovered from a dead civilization that had destroyed itself with its own weapons. The Zephyrins had never fully understood how the field worked. They just knew that it did. The field began to charge, creating a vibration that could be felt in the bones of every living thing within a light year. On Earth, Admiral Chen felt it first as a headache. Then came the whispers, not words exactly but suggestions. Give up. Stop fighting. Surrender. Obey. Ma'am, are you all right? General Patterson asked. Chen shook her head to clear it. They're using some kind of psychic weapon. Can you feel it? Patterson frowned. Feel what? I mean, I have a slight headache, but around the command center, reactions were mixed. Some people rubbed their temples. Others seemed completely unaffected. A few looked mildly annoyed. Interesting, Chen said. It's hitting different people differently. Status report, all stations. The reports came in from across the solar system. The field was washing over all human space, but the effects were minimal. Some people reported headaches. Others felt slightly dizzy. A small percentage said they felt an urge to give up, but it was no stronger than the urge to eat junk food during a diet. Why isn't it working properly? Chen wondered aloud. Dr. Sarah Webb had the answer. Admiral, I think I know what's happening. The field is designed to suppress consciousness by overwhelming the mind with external input. But humans have been dealing with that for centuries. Explain. Think about it. Social media algorithms designed to hack our attention. 24-hour news cycles broadcasting fear and outrage. Advertising that uses psychological manipulation. Political propaganda. We've been swimming in attempts to control our minds for so long that we've developed immunity. General Patterson laughed. You're saying social media saved humanity? In a way, yes. Our brains have adapted to filter out psychological manipulation. We've built up a tolerance. What would destroy other species' minds is just background noise to us. On the Zephyrin flagship, the Emperor watched the field readings in disbelief. The field was at full power, but the humans weren't collapsing. They weren't surrendering. Most of them seemed to be ignoring it entirely. Increase power to maximum, he ordered. My lord, that could damage the field generators. Do it! The field grew stronger. On Earth, more people noticed it now. The headaches got worse. The whispers got louder. But still, nobody surrendered. Instead, something else happened. Humans got angry. There was nothing humans hated more than someone trying to control their minds. They had fought wars over freedom of thought. They had died for the right to think what they wanted. And now aliens were trying to take that away? Admiral, a technician said. I'm receiving reports from across Earth. People want to know if we're going to let the aliens get away with this psychic attack. Chen smiled grimly. Oh, we're not letting them get away with anything. Deploy the corvette. A single human ship, the smallest class in the fleet, broke away from Earth's defensive line. The UNS Vengeance was only 50 meters long, barely bigger than a commercial shuttle. Against the Emperor's flagship, even damaged as it was, it looked like a mosquito attacking an elephant. What is that tiny ship going to do? The Emperor asked. Ram us? The corvette jumped, not through normal space but through something else. It appeared directly inside the Zephyrin formation, right in the middle of what remained of the fleet. How did they do that? The War Master gasped. They jumped inside our formation. That's impossible. The gravity wells should prevent. Sir, the human ship is broadcasting something. Put it on screen. The image that appeared wasn't Admiral Chen or any human leader. It was just a simple text message. Our turn. The corvette released its payload. Not weapons in any conventional sense, but information. A virus, but not biological or even digital. It was mimetic. An idea weaponized and given form. The virus spread through the Zephyrin communication network instantly. Every screen, every display, every neural interface in the fleet suddenly showed the same thing. The complete history of human warfare. Every war. Every battle. Every atrocity. Every innovation in killing. From the first human who picked up a rock to bash another human's skull, to nuclear weapons, to biological warfare, to the nanobots currently eating their ships. But it wasn't just the history. It was the experience. The virus made them feel it. Every Zephyrin suddenly understood what it meant to be human, to be a species that had spent its entire existence finding new ways to kill, a species that had turned murder into science, warfare into art. They saw humans using chemical weapons on each other in trenches. They saw atomic bombs erasing cities. They saw genocide, torture, weapons designed not just to kill but to cause maximum suffering. They saw humans doing things to each other that the Zephyrans in 50,000 years of conquest had never even imagined. And then they saw something worse. They saw that humans had looked at all this horror, all this death and destruction, and decided to get better at it. The consciousness suppression field shut down, not because the humans destroyed it, but because the Zephyrin operators had fled their posts. All across the fleet, aliens were screaming, crying, fleeing in escape pods. They had seen into the heart of humanity, and what they saw there had broken them. The Emperor fell to his knees, all four arms clutching his head. The images wouldn't stop. Wars upon wars upon wars, humans killing humans in ways that defied reason, and through it all humans advancing, learning, improving their ability to destroy. "Make it stop," he begged. "Please make it stop." The Corvette transmitted another message. "This is what we do to ourselves. Imagine what we'll do to our enemies." The virus reached its climax, showing the Zephyrans humanity's most recent innovation, weapons that could delete concepts from reality, bombs that could rewrite the laws of physics, viruses that could spread through thought itself. And buried in the data, a simple fact: humans had developed all of these weapons before they ever met another alien species. They had created world-ending weapons just to see if they could. Admiral Chen opened a channel to the Emperor. He appeared on screen, curled in a ball on the floor of his bridge. His purple skin had gone pale, almost gray. "Emperor Vexitheta," she said. "Do you understand now?" "You're monsters," he whispered. "You're all monsters." "Yes," Chen agreed. "We are. We're the monsters the universe created. We evolved on a death world that tried to kill us every day. We survived by becoming better killers than anything else. We're not proud of it, but we've accepted it. How do you live with yourselves? By choosing not to be monsters. Every day we wake up with the power to destroy everything, and we choose not to. We have rules, laws, ethics, not because we're good, but because we know what we're capable of if we're not careful." The Emperor struggled to his feet. "The galaxy must know. Everyone must be warned. That's the idea. Go home, Emperor. Tell them about us. Tell them that humans are not to be touched, not because we're peaceful, but because we're not. And if someone doesn't listen, if someone else attacks..." Chan's expression went cold. "Then we stop pretending to be civilized. What you experienced today was us being nice. We used non-lethal weapons. We gave you chances to surrender. We didn't deploy the things that give us nightmares. You have weapons worse than what we saw? Emperor, we have weapons we're afraid to use. Weapons we've built and then immediately locked away because even we think they go too far. Weapons that could unravel reality itself," she paused. "But the most dangerous thing about humans isn't our weapons. It's that we've spent our entire existence asking one question: how can we kill that? And we've never, not once, failed to find an answer." The Emperor's fleet began to retreat. The 1,000 surviving ships limped away from the solar system, their crews traumatized, their commanders broken. They had come to conquer a primitive species and, instead, had encountered something far worse. They had encountered a species that had weaponized evolution itself. As the Zephyrin fleet disappeared into hyperspace, celebrations erupted across human space. But in the military command centers, the mood was more subdued. "Think they'll spread the word?" Patterson asked. "Oh yes," Chen replied. "The mimetic virus will make sure of that. Every Zephyrin will carry the memory of what they saw. They'll spread it to others, maybe even unconsciously." Emperor Vextheta's throne room had never been so quiet. The massive chamber, once filled with the sounds of 1,000 courtiers and servants, now held only the Emperor and his closest advisors. They had been back at the Empire's capital for 3 days, and the Emperor had barely spoken. The holographic display in the center of the room showed the recordings from the battle. The Emperor had watched them over and over, trying to understand how 5 million ships had been defeated by 500. "My lord," his first commander said softly, "the Senate wishes to speak with you." The Emperor's 3 eyes focused on nothing. "Let them come." The doors opened and 5 senators entered. They were from different species that the Empire had conquered over the millennia. Once they would have approached on their bellies, crawling in submission. Now they walked upright. "Emperor Vexitheta," the lead senator said, "we have received your report about the humans. And? We believe you." The Emperor looked up in surprise. He had expected doubt, mockery, even challenge to his authority. The senator continued. "The mimetic virus the humans used has spread throughout the Empire. Every citizen has seen what you saw. They understand what humans are capable of. Then you know we cannot defeat them. We know more than that, my lord. We know we must never try. The Emperor stood, his damaged pride making him angry. We are the Zephyrin Empire. We have ruled for 50,000 years, and we will continue to rule, the senator said calmly, over the 10,000 systems that don't include Earth. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Secretary General Okonkwo was having a very different meeting. Representatives from 50 different alien civilizations had requested communication in the last 72 hours. Word of the Zephyrin defeat had spread faster than anyone had expected. The Altarian Confederation wishes to establish trade relations, her aide reported. The Proxima Collective wants to sign a non-aggression pact. The Andromedan Republic is asking if we're available as military consultants. Okonkwo rubbed her tired eyes. 3 days ago, nobody knew we existed. Now everyone wants to be our friend. Fear is a powerful motivator, Admiral Chen said from her position by the window. But we need to be careful. We showed our strength, but we also showed our nature. Some species will fear us. Others might see us as a threat that needs to be eliminated. What do you suggest? We accept the trade offers, sign the non-aggression pacts, but we also make something clear. Humans are willing to be friends, allies, even protectors, but we are not conquerors. The Andromedans' request for military consultation? Chen smiled. Tell them we'll think about it, but our consultancy fees are very, very high. Back on the Zephyrin capital, the Emperor received an unexpected visitor. A small, unassuming alien stood before him. The Keeper of Archives, the Empire's oldest and most respected scholar. My lord, the Keeper said, I have been studying the human data. And? They are not the first. The Emperor's 3 eyes blinked in confusion. What do you mean? Throughout galactic history, there have been species like the humans. Species that evolved on death worlds. Species that became too good at war. Most of them destroyed themselves. The few that survived became legends. Legends? The Keeper manipulated his controls, bringing up ancient texts. The vanished ones who built the consciousness suppression field we used. They destroyed themselves in a war that deleted their entire species from reality. The Voidmakers, who created weapons so terrible that their entire sector of space is still uninhabitable. The first killers who, well, nobody knows what happened to them. They just disappeared one day, leaving only warnings. And the humans? The humans are different, my lord. They survived their own nature. They looked at their capacity for destruction and chose to control it instead of being controlled by it. They created rules for war because they understood that without rules they would end everything. The Emperor was quiet for a moment. They told me they were monsters who chose not to be monsters. Yes, my lord. And that choice makes them more dangerous than any of the others. How? Because they're not driven by bloodlust or conquest. They're driven by survival. They will do anything, become anything, destroy anything to protect themselves. But once the threat is gone, they stop. They have an off switch. That makes them less dangerous, not more. The Keeper shook his head. No, my lord. It makes them sustainable. The other warrior species burned out. They destroyed themselves or everything around them. But humans can turn it on and off. They can be peaceful neighbors for 1,000 years, then become death incarnate when threatened, then go back to being peaceful. They're not a war species. They're a survival species that happens to be very, very good at war. On Earth, the first alien trade ship was preparing to dock at the International Space Station. The merchants inside were nervous. They had all seen the recordings of what humans had done to the Zephyrin fleet. Remember, their captain said, be polite, be honest. Don't make sudden movements. And whatever you do, don't threaten them. The airlock opened and a human stood there. She was smiling, holding a tray with what looked like baked goods. Welcome to Earth space, she said cheerfully. I'm Captain Rodriguez. Would you like some cookies? My grandmother's recipe. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. This warm, welcoming person was the same species that had dissolved 5 million ships? Are they safe? The alien captain asked. Rodriguez laughed. Of course they're safe. We're not monsters. Well, not to friends anyway. Come on, let me show you around. We've set up a whole market area for trade. You're going to love what we have to offer. As they walked through the station, the aliens saw humans going about their daily lives. Children playing, adults working, elderly people sitting in observation lounges watching the stars. They look so normal, so peaceful. Can I ask you something? The alien captain said. Sure. How do you do it? How do you go from destroying a fleet to baking cookies? Rodriguez thought for a moment. Practice, I guess. We've been switching between war and peace for 10,000 years. It's like having a guard dog. Most of the time it's friendly, playful, loving. But if someone tries to break into your house, it becomes something else. And once the threat is gone, it goes back to being friendly. And you're comfortable with that? We have to be. It's who we are. Back at the Zephyrin capital, the Emperor made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. Send a message to all our territories, he commanded. Tell them that Earth is under the protection of the Zephyrin Empire. His advisors gasped. My lord, we just lost to them. Exactly. And everyone knows it. But if we declare them under our protection, it implies an alliance. It makes us look wise instead of weak. And more importantly, it means anyone who attacks Earth has to go through us. But we couldn't stop them if they attacked us. No, but the humans could. And they've shown they're willing to leave alone those who leave them alone. This way, we're on their good side. The first commander understood. You're making them the Empire's guard dog. In a way. But more importantly, I'm making sure we're not the ones they bite. The message went out across the galaxy. The Zephyrin Empire, the oldest and largest political entity in known space, declared Earth and all human colonies under their protection. The response was immediate and universal. Every species that had been considering testing the humans suddenly reconsidered. On Earth, President Okonkwo read the Zephyrin Declaration with amusement. They're clever, she admitted to Admiral Chen. They turned their defeat into a political victory. Should we reject it? No, let them save face. It costs us nothing and gains us a powerful ally, even if that ally is terrified of us. She turned to face the assembled Earth leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, in 3 days we've gone from unknown to untouchable. Every species in the galaxy now knows who we are and what we're capable of. The question is, what do we do now? Admiral Chen had an answer. We do what humans have always done. We explore. We trade, we learn. We make friends with those who want friendship. And we remind anyone who might forget that we're the species that weaponized evolution itself. And if nobody ever attacks us again, then we've won the ultimate victory. Peace through strength. Dr. Chen on Mars was explaining the situation to his son Marcus. You see, son, the galaxy just learned something important about humans. What's that? That we're not the monsters under the bed. We're the monsters that keep the other monsters from getting near the bed in the first place. So we're protectors? In a way. We're the galaxy's immune system. We fight off the infections that would hurt the body. But immune systems can attack the body too, can't they? Dr. Chen smiled proudly at his son's insight. Yes, they can. That's why we have to be careful. That's why we have rules and laws and ethics. We have to make sure we remain the cure and not become the disease. The galaxy would remember this week forever, not as the weak humanity declared war, but as the weak humanity declared peace, a peace backed by the promise of destruction, so complete that no sane species would ever test it. The Zephyrin Empire had come to conquer Earth with 5 million ships. They left with 1,000 damaged vessels and a story that would be told for millennia. The story of the day the galaxy met humanity. The day the galaxy learned to smile nervously and back away slowly.